it. With the tears in my eyes.
The cream of the crop.
Acknowledge me.
Episode 351 of Top Rope Nation. Ryan Drosty, Jesse Velasquez, Justin Joint here to talk all the latest in the world of pro wrestling. Justin Joint, welcome back to the show.
Good to be here. Has anything happened of interest in the world in these past 2 weeks since I've been gone? Anything?
Where should we get started here? A lot. Yes, no kidding. How you doing, man?
Not bad. Well, I guess, I've feel like I've always been honest on this pod, so I'm just going to go ahead and be honest now. I'm taking a little break from booze. I have not had any alcohol in over a week now, but I do like the taste of beer. So to jump on your spot here, Ryan, as far as what's in the cup, I have a Surly NA. Which, as far as NAs go, it's pretty good, even though all NAs taste like either expired or watered down beer.
True. I mean, look at this. You're taking a break from booze. Jesse can't drink because of the job he has. So you make me look like the lush lately. Thanks a lot, guys. Jesse, how you doing, man?
Dude, I would love to be in your spot right now. Getting up incredibly early is just not my forte. It's wearing me down already, and here I am in week 3 starting tomorrow.
Well, your week going all right though otherwise?
Yes. Well, now it is. Had a little computer malfunction that got fixed this morning, so here we are, live and in living color.
Ooh. We had to replace a garbage disposal in our house the other day. That was fun. Love owning a home.
I have thought so many times that I was going to have to do that and luckily figured out how to fix it, but it's probably on its last legs. So,
no.
Yeah.
It wasn't as expensive as I thought it would be to fix it. So
good.
Silver linings, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I've got a gin and tonic in the glass. It's the Hendrix gin inspired by Jesse. So I'm in good stuff. I'll be drinking this as we go. Speaking of technical problems, once again, this show is not streaming to Twitter X, despite us having a verified account. The other podcast I'm on uses a different streaming platform and has had 0 issues streaming since Elon Musk changed the Twitter X streaming rules. So I don't know what's going on here, Restream. I actually have someone on our help. I'm chatting with someone on the side on the help desk right now, so I hope it doesn't end our stream or anything, but trying to get this figured out. So if you are joining us live, I appreciate those of you tuning in right now on YouTube. It is streaming to Twitch. It looks like it's just Twitter where we do, the majority of our views is not streaming yet again. So hopefully we can get this figured out for next week. And of course, most of you, the majority of you actually just listen on the podcast feed. So thank you for listening. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe on that podcast feed. Hit subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us a written review. Haven't said this in a while, but if you leave us a written review and you leave your Twitter or Instagram handle in the review, I will contact you and send you a free Top Rope Nation sticker. All you got to do is leave us a written review. Would really, really appreciate that. And then, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's really where we're trying to push our content lately on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel over there. Like this video if you're watching us live. That would help us out a lot. And you see the names here at the bottom, our wonderful Top Rope Nation patrons get access to all of our bonus content. Link in the broadcast description to become a patron of the show. Without Patreon, simply this show does not exist. So those 40 or so names that you see scrolling across the bottom, those are our sponsors. They are the people that make the show possible. We thank each and every one of you. Next week, a new Top Rope Nation Classics is going to drop. Justin wanted to title it The Trial of Carl Longhorn because he nominated this one. Bash at the Beach 2000. Can't say we're looking forward to it, but hopefully we'll make do with what is a horrendous show and make it entertaining for you. I'm sure it'll be an entertaining listen.
I promise. Go ahead, Justin.
I was just going to say, It's funny, not to jump the gun here about what we're going to talk about, but I think part of the reason why I was not overly offended by anything on Dynamite last night is because I am deep into my research for Bash at the Beach 2000, and nothing from Dynamite could be as offensive as, not only that card or what happened on it, but everything leading into it.
That sounds horrendous. Not an era I want to relive very much. Jesse, you watched that show live, you said, or at least part of that show live?
I watched from the Hogan Jarrett match on, so it wasn't that much, but it was just enough to refresh my memory and how bad it was. I actually have watched about 2/3 of it now, so I've gotten through it, and it's way worse than I remembered. So I will be drinking on that classics.
Were you like
How'd you
that
not?
with homework in school, Jesse? Or because me myself, I was a procrastinator, and I still, for the most part, am when it comes to our classics episodes, where I don't get around to watching the actual show until almost the night before. Did you get way ahead in homework?
In subjects that I struggled in, yes.
Oh,
But in subjects that I was really good at, nope. I was a procrastinator because I had pretty much had it kind of ingrained in my mind.
wow. Okay.
Of course, you never procrastinated in history class, right?
I wasn't too bad of a history student.
That's what I like to hear.
I would have at
Nice
least gotten
job,
a B
Jesse.
from you.
I mean, the way school is structured these days, I think you would have been an A student.
That's
get me
likely. Although today this blew my mind. I had no idea. I found out that I believe it was Beethoven at some point. He went deaf later on in his life,
Yeah.
which I did not
Justin's
know.
thinking hard.
Yeah, I was like, did I know that? I feel like I knew that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we always play a game of Would You Rather with classes that I teach on Thursdays. And the topic today was, would you rather learn piano lessons or take piano lessons from Beethoven or take science lessons from Albert Einstein?
Ooh, piano lessons.
Yeah, same.
A good chunk of the folks said piano lessons.
Well, as much as I believe in science and scientists, I don't want to learn that shit.
Yeah. All right, let's talk pro wrestling, you guys. So we're going to start with AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite was kind of an up and down show. I thought there was things that I liked quite a bit in the first hour of the show, and then as we've talked about in the Facebook group today, some things in the second hour, or maybe like the last 45 minutes or so. I didn't even see what the runtime was on Blood and Guts, but things in that match I didn't like. I mean, some things that I did like. But overall, to me, the Blood and Guts match had a lot of problems, and it goes way beyond the unprotected chair shot. We had quite the dialogue going in the Facebook group today on that. Some people don't mind it, other people don't mind it. But beyond that, my biggest problem with this match, and it's only the fourth one they've had, and really, they haven't been that good. If you look at all four of them, there's been issues with most of them. Wasn't it Ibushi looked terrible in the one last year?
Mm-hmm.
And like the punches were so bad. I mean, like the crash pad thing, and I think it was the first one. Like there's been issues with it. The issue with this year's match is that you had a situation where the match didn't feel like it was worth the stipulation. I felt like Team AEW felt like the B team. You had Swerve out there. We did have Darby. He got added to the team late. But then outside of that, it's like the Acclaim. They don't really feel like top guys right now. They're really just kind of hovering at the lower to mid card area. And so, I mean, in the end, the story the match told was that it like set up a TNT title match that I don't know that a ton of people were pining for anyways, that there was not much hype behind it. And it was just like, all it was a setup to set up the TNT title match. And that was what it was all about. Before we get into all the details and everything, let me throw to Jesse first. Did you enjoy the match in general?
It was fine. There were parts that I enjoyed, but I think as I texted you guys, the tropes just continue to run where they're bringing every weapon under the sun into the ring. And at some point in time, it loses its luster when that barbed wire is coming in. You have thumbtacks has now become a huge staple in these AEW settings. Tables, people on the going to the outside. However, what I did love was Hangman Page's urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Like just saying I don't really care for my elite brethren. All I care about is Swerve Strickland, and he made that known within the first couple of minutes. I thought that was awesome. I thought their showdown in the center was awesome when Swerve got unhooked. We had that portion. As much as the stapling thing was a little hokey for me, I did enjoy Okada doing the middle finger bitch and Swerve stapling him. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's a couple other spots that they'll probably come to my mind at some point in time that I enjoyed, but for the most part, again, just kind of running through the same token stuff. So you said Orion, I think we talked about it last week. This was easily the worst built AEW Blood and Guts ever. And that makes a huge difference because back when War Games was actually great in the early 90s, there was tension going into most of them. I mean, there were a couple that weren't built that well, but for the most part, there had to be some circumstances to it. And I guess the climax to this part was Darby Allin getting a TNT title match. And I could spoil AEW Rampage for people right now if you want me to.
We'll talk about it at the end.
Okay.
I saw the spoiler too, but we'll say that for the end for people that don't want to spoil. Okay, so Justin, your thoughts in general before we start talking about more specifics.
Well, I will just echo the things that Jesse liked about it. Everything related to Hangman and Swerve, I thought was fantastic. The way they introduced both of them into the match was chef kiss perfect. The face-off, the entire staple gun fight was a lot of fun. But outside of that, we've complained about it ad nauseum since War Games came back. Even going to the NXT one, which isn't War Games because there's no roof, is that the entire first part of it before the actual War Game starts or the Blood and Guts starts is meaningless. At least before, back in the good old days. Sorry for sounding old there. But that stuff mattered because once War Games started, it was probably going to be over in 10 to 15 minutes. Now, by the time that match starts, you're looking at 30 minutes at least. And that's like, I got excited because I watched on delay, so on my DVR, and I just happened to glance just at the bottom, where it says how far along you are in the show. I just happened to glance at that real quick, and the Blood and Guts was just about to start, but it looked like there was only about 30 minutes left from the show. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to do this right. They're going to treat this goddamn thing with respect. I can't wait. And then I watched it and I saw the results and it was 49 minutes long. It's God damn it. And, not to step on what we're about to talk to, but just the whole babyface and heel dynamics of this match were just completely off. And I don't mind them using this match to build to that TNT match at All In, but not when that seems like the entire purpose of the match. That should just be one small part of it. So there's a lot of things to dislike about these modern War Games matches. And this one is no different from any of the other ones that have taken place.
49 minutes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. That's the thing that we always complain about. Yeah. With the NXT ones. And we always point out the great War Games matches of the past were like 25 minutes long, 25, 30 minutes, sometimes shorter.
I saw somebody posted on X, Twitter, about when Dusty Rhodes came back to WCW in 94, and he had that great promo with Dustin Rhodes that eventually led to a War Games match. And they were like, that was the last good War Games match. So I looked it up real quick because I didn't really remember, but I think it was 20 minutes. I don't think it was any more than 20 minutes. I mean, you just don't need that. It's like, how are we supposed to buy all this brutality in the opening when guys are coming out if it doesn't mean anything the rest of the way? Now, I will say I am thankful they did not do the West Side Story face-off thing in this match. So, bravo to them for that.
And there were only two high spots of note, and one of the two I really loved. The Darby one.
Oh, the climbing one? Yeah, that was cool. I mean, it's just overindulgent. It's the simplest way. I mean, he just goes on and on and on. The other problem I have, I know you guys like the stapler spot. I like that too. I'm not gonna lie, but like overall, I think these matches just have too many weapons. I miss
Yes.
the days when it was just a brawl. You're locked in that cage with a short roof on it, and yeah, there's blood because people are brawling and you're trapped in there with like 10 dudes. You know, like that. Those are the war games matches I like. And I just don't like having all the weapons, people getting out of the cage, climbing to the top of the cage, going all the way up the ramp. And like the other problem I have with this is I agree all the the early interactions with Swerve and Hangman were very good. But like I felt, and we talked about this, I think last week, Jesse, that the story of the match should be like that should be factored into the finish too. And they did make it the story of the match a little bit like through the middle, and then they took that spot, off the stage, and they all just disappeared forever. I would have played more into them with the finish because despite, us all being fans of Darby and everything, like I'm going to light the dude on fire. What?
That's weird.
Like you're going to commit murder live here on TBS? I mean, like the guy is handcuffed to the cage. Jack Perry is handcuffed to the cage, and Darby Allin is like threatening to light him on fire, which is a hell of a babyface thing to do. And obviously, he's not going to do it. Someone on the One True Sports show earlier commented that like that's the Eddie Kingston gimmick, with the gas can and everything. Who, Eddie was apparently originally going to be in this match before injuries took him out of it. But yeah, like it was just so hokey. The finish, it
took too long.
Yep, took too long.
It seemed like Darby couldn't find any of the stuff he was looking for, which I think that added just the prolonged agony of that moment just made it even worse. And to your point was with them doing that, so you're going to have the heels be compassionate about their partners all of a sudden. This just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Matt Jackson's like, okay, I'll give you the match with him at All In, and that's it. We quit. Like, really? That's the finish?
Yeah.
In a 49-minute War Games match is bargaining over a match? Like, this is just a lame-ass finish. I'm sorry. I mean, we are always very high on AEW, more so than WWE, although we've warmed up to WWE a little bit in recent months, or a couple of us have at least. But look, we always call it how we see it. We try to remain objective on this show. And objectively, that finish was ass. I'm sorry. That was a terrible finish. Babyface heel dynamic off. Lame finish. This being all about an underneath, like a TNT title match instead of making about Swerve and Hangman at the finish. Don't like that. Jesse, go ahead.
No, I'll give you that one. I did hear something today that kind of perked my ears a little bit, and I said, all right, I suppose that maybe what he's going for. Jack Perry, in a sense, right now, because we've noticed that AEW's been cosplaying people in the past. He's been doing a little bit of Raven cosplaying over this course with this gimmick, with starting with the crucifix in the beginning, and then getting handcuffed to the cage, and then taking the chair shot like Tommy Dreamer did to him back in '95 when chair shots weren't frowned upon, and we didn't know like the repercussions, what was going to happen with that. So I thought that was interesting. Maybe, I mean, we all like Raven. I can't remember. I mean, who other than CM Punk, can you think of anybody else in the last maybe handful of years that's tried to cosplay Raven?
Not off the top of my head right away. I mean, that's a hell of a good guy to cosplay.
Yeah.
ECW Raven for sure.
Yeah. So I
never thought about that, but I can see it. Yeah, for sure. So should we talk about the chair shot right now? Again, like as we just got into, not my biggest problem with the match, not close to it. I knew it would get people talking though, especially when the Corey Graves tweet came out and then got deleted. I'm like, I have to put this in the Facebook group as people are going to chime in. And of course, I got a lot of interaction, which that's the goal. That's the goal. I didn't like it because of everything we know about CTE and also just the perception of the company. Whether or not it was a shaved down chair, a gimmick chair, which I would assume it was. It sounded pretty heavy on the sound effect, but I would assume it was gimmicked.
So I think Brian Alvarez came out today and said it was gimmicked.
Yeah. But that said, it's still like a blunt object hitting you in the head at full speed, so like that's still not great. And yeah, you get the WWE homers on Twitter X who are like, oh, just bashing AEW on it. And like I'll criticize them for it too. But like they use that as just another reason why this company is garbage and stuff. I just don't think you should do that in this day and age, whether or not you think it's safe. I mean, there have been wrestlers that have commented that even the gimmick chairs, they hurt a lot. That can still cause a concussion. Maybe not as much damage, but dude, it's still pretty dangerous. And just as a fan, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Again, not my number one most hated thing about this match, but when it happened, I cringed and I was like, oh no, because they've done it before. They did it with Cody. It's like, did we really want to be doing this in 2024? Go ahead, Jesse.
No, that's exactly where I was going to go, was when Sean Spears did it, I think within a month or two after Double or Nothing, to Cody to start their feud that went to All Out in 19. There was a lot of controversy behind it, even though Cody turned his head at the last minute and the chair was gimmicked. It still didn't matter. I don't know. I mean, I don't really go to many independent shows, but I'm assuming they're not, maybe other than GCW, taking unprotected chair shots to the head.
No, definitely not. And like I'm saying, perception, one of the biggest problems with AEW right now in growth is perception. It's the crap people put out there about their crowds, the type of wrestling you get there, how it's booked, the stories and all that. They're dealing with perception problems right now. And I just don't know that kind of thing really attracts people to the product. And it has people like vultures, like using that to just yet another thing, to attack them for. I mean, I saw Tony was asked about it he had like the press call in, I think that was today. The media call. I think he was
for
asked
ROH.
about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go ahead, Justin.
Those vultures, those tribalists, they're not coming to watch this product anyways, so it's not for them to begin with. It didn't bother me for two reasons. One, I figured it was gimmicked. And two, to your point, they have scaled this back so much that I don't worry about the guys as much anymore. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it fucks them up, rings their bell or whatever. But they've done two of them in their entire history, and it's not like what we grew up with, where it was every show someone was just getting nailed in the head. And then not just every show, but it was every week, just this unrelenting chair violence. And you factor in all the other stuff with, as far as just these guys' health goes, is, they're not on the road as much. They're not wrestling as many matches. I think it's a lot safer in a lot of ways. And I guess I just wouldn't know, like, where are we going to draw the line on this stuff? It's like, I've seen lots of trash cans to the head, cookie sheets, table spots have taken out Phoenix and the Top Flight guy, both messed themselves up. So, I mean, everything these people do, these wrestlers, is dangerous. Now, this particular thing, the percentage of it hurting someone is probably a lot higher than any other maneuver that's going to be out there. But if they want to do that, I'm kind of okay with it, as long as it is used sparingly, and that's my only problem with it in this instance, is why we're using it on a heel here, which I feel like if a heel had done that to a baby face, and I was right there with you guys cringing. It's like, oh crap, and to me, that's like, okay, well, that's the desired effect when you're doing something this brutal. And to use that, from Briscoe onto Jack Perry, that doesn't make any sense to me, unless like they're planning on this feud down the road, which I don't get the feeling they are. So that's my big complaint about it. And, maybe this is revealing too much about my political beliefs, but if Jack Perry wants to do that, it's, his body, his choice.
Shouldn't Darby have hit him with the chair?
Yes,
that's what I was thinking.
What are we doing here? Yeah. I mean, that didn't make any sense, but you're right. Like, it would be a sympathy spot. It makes no sense with the heel. So I mean, yeah, they've had perception problems with how they handle injuries. Like, remember the Matt Hardy thing where he was clearly concussed and they kept the match going and stuff. So it's like they've got criticism from people, and like that can definitely impact. This one not so much, But like how they handle the Matt Hardy thing, that can impact them trying to sign people. Like they want to be safe there and stuff. Now, I think there was a discussion in the Facebook group about this, and I noted that there's just not a lot of oversight in the matches in AEW. I feel like in WWE, they got to get things approved a lot more. This is just my general belief based on some things I've heard, that like they pretty much have the freedom to do what they want at AEW. And so that could be an issue if this became a routine thing. You're right. They haven't really done it in a long, long time. Hopefully, I doubt this would be like a routine thing. Just thought it was a little questionable, both in nature of how they did it, but then also who did it, as Justin said.
Yeah.
Which is just total nonsense.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. For the record, I don't know if you were referencing me in that chat, in that Facebook discussion, but I'm right there with them in that I stopped watching the NFL for years just because I got really uncomfortable with it, with, you know, all the CTE stuff. Now I've kind of slowly started watching it again because it seems like the NFL is a little bit more proactive these days. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's because it's used so, and frankly, I'll take an unprotected chair shot over, all right, assume the position so you can take your chair shot to the back, you know, a bunch of times. You know, I'd rather they just forego all weapons than do that kind of crap. If they're just like, okay, well, we can only hit each other in the back because that's the only safe way to do it, then just don't use weapons anymore. Because that takes me out of a fight immediately. I immediately roll my eyes when I see that kind of stuff. But we've talked about it before. This one instance, unprotected, he was chained to the cage. I guess it made sense. I wish it made more sense if they'd used the right guys. But back in our days, it was like this pissing contest, you know, whose dick was bigger, who was tougher. They purposely kept their arms down to take chair shots. Doesn't make sense. If you're in a fight, you're going to put up your hand to protect yourself if somebody's swinging a chair at you. I got no problem with those kind of chair shots, you know, happening a little bit more frequently. But this unprotected stuff, as long as it's once in a blue moon and preferably has some meaning, like I guess, you know, Cody and Sean Spears had a little bit behind it, but I don't know. I totally get your point, Ryan, with the whole perception stuff. I'm not too concerned with the people who are complaining about that kind of stuff. But yeah, I hope everybody's okay. I hope Jack's okay. He's the perfect guy to use this on too, because I hope he comes out, you know, next week, says real chair and pounds on it or something like that.
You know, like, yeah, the other part of it though is that, you know, they'd already used the kendo stick shots too. So it just kind of, I used the term overindulgent earlier. It just seemed overindulgent. And, you know, I don't want to recycle too much of this from Facebook, but like to the NFL point, yeah, my point I think I made on the post was that, you know, you have your gimmick chair, sure, but like you can still get concussed from that, just like you can wear a helmet and get concussed in the NFL. People do a lot. Now, like, yeah, sure, people are going to say, well, you get concussed in wrestling as is. That's true. That's the nature of the job, but you don't have to have chair shots in wrestling versus you do have to wrestle the match and you can get concussed, you know, like Bret Hart did, as Ryan Huffman said here in the chat. Bret Hart says nothing's more dangerous than getting in the ring with that son of a bee, Bill Goldberg. Great chat here from Ryan Huffman. Yeah, he would say that. You know, like, yeah, it can happen from the table spots too. Now, usually your back's going to take most of that. Although Anthony Bowens last night doing that drop off the cage through the double stacked tables seemed like a piece of that got him in the head. He hit his head on the ground pretty hard. That was also pretty brutal. You know, yeah, and you're right, Justin. Like they use the very clearly gimmicked garbage cans. Those things look almost like tinfoil when they use them. And they even like usually put a hand up for those too. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can get concussions in wrestling, though. I mean, that's obviously a fair point. Jesse, go ahead and jump in.
The Young Bucks did us a service by super kicking Max Caster with tacks in his mouth.
Please, no more raps. They're getting
As
lamer
gimmicked
and
as they
lamer.
were.
That spot makes me cringe more than any other spots in that match. I don't know, maybe it's just the dad in me. I'm like, oh, please don't let him swallow any of those accidentally.
Yeah, I'm kidding. So, I mean, I think this is pretty much everything I wanted to hit on this. It was just, I didn't like the finish. I thought it should have been about Swerve and Hangman at the finish. I would have liked to have seen them use the result maybe to set up another match with those guys down the line. Maybe for, eventually All Out or something, a couple of weeks after All In, something like that. Instead, they just like took out each other and that was that. So they weren't really the story in the end. The story was the TNT title match. And I just don't think Blood and Guts should be used to set up a TNT title match. That should not be the focus of this match. And to that point, it feels like they just did it, which, to be fair, our criticism of Hell in the Cell often was that they had the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. We hated it because the only reason they were doing Hell in a Cell was because it was that time of the year.
Yeah.
And
it was October.
Look, early to midsummer. This is when they've always done it. I think they had one in May, a couple in June, July. They're always around this time for AEW. So it's like the reason they're doing it that time of year, and that's the same criticism we had of WWE. So it just felt like they did it just because they had to do it. There wasn't really any heat behind it. And in the end, the payoff wasn't worth it. I didn't think.
A lot of things are becoming annual with AEW, and it's really starting to make its way through, and kind of the repetitive nature is just making me wonder. It's like when you started this, why wouldn't you be original and use, especially if you're a wrestling historian, and use these specific gimmick matches when called for? I mean, this one for sure wasn't called for. 5-on-5 was poorly built.
Yeah, and to your point, like it's especially weird because it's not for a pay-per-view or anything. They put this on TV. Well, you can do that any time of the year. Just wait for when you're ready for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Should we go elsewhere on the card? Anything else on Blood and Guts?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. One of the things I really liked on the show was the debut of Mariah May's new look, the Glamour. I thought that was a hit. She was in the spot right before Blood and Guts, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
And she essentially just worked a squash match, but she came out new ring gear, new entrance song, still did the Tony spots in the ring. And then at the end, after Mariah wins, Tony Storm runs out, all disguised, pulls off the mask. They get into this heated pull apart. Thought everything here was very well done. Maybe I would have held off a little bit on Tony coming back, but I mean, that's a very, very minor gripe. She came back this week. It was super effective. Crowd was into it. Thought Mariah's new gimmick works. Jesse, what did you make of the Glamour?
Enjoyed that aspect of it. I just saw a chat that I was going to bring up. I think they could have waited a couple more weeks to bring Tony back.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, I would have waited a couple of weeks. I would have had Mariah getting a couple just clean squash match wins like this.
In fairness, in non-kayfabe world, like Tony Storm, I believe they're at San Diego Comic-Con this weekend now. She's already made waves there by saying she's going to doom Mariah May's womb. Yep. Yeah, but that was Will Ospreay's reaction, by the way, Justin. You should go watch that.
That's a pretty incredible line. I'm not gonna lie. That's wow.
No,
wow.
I think the gimmick was well played. It's fine that she was cosplaying her in spots, but she was also doing some of the things that she did in Stardom too. You could see that she's pretty athletic, very good shotgun dropkick from the top. Yeah, some of the stuff that I've enjoyed, I've seen a handful of her matches there. So yeah, if we get to unleash that side of her while keeping this current character, great. I'm all for it. So, but yeah, I think I would have liked to have seen Tony come back maybe either next week at the earliest or 2 weeks down the road, a couple of weeks before All In, to make that segment look even more effective.
Yeah. Go ahead, Justin.
I was just gonna say it didn't bother me too much that it, basically 2 weeks that Tony was gone. If only because, she basically just took one belt shot to the head for the most part. It's not like they, did anything super destructive to her. So you don't want to make her look too weak. And also my assumption is, they have some plans for these next few weeks to build to All In, which requires Tony Storm to be around.
Well, to that point, I did like how Mariah's carrying around the shoe that she beat her to hell with.
Mm-hmm.
That was a nice touch in the entrance and everything, along with the Owen belt. I think with the layout of the show, one of the things that was an issue here was, again, a minor issue. I thought this was pretty much a home run. Was just that they had already done a run-in a women's match, like right before this, with Camille making her debut. So it was like kind of the same thing again. That's why another reason I would have maybe spaced it out a little bit. Sorry, go ahead, Justin. You were going to jump in.
I was just going to say, these things can grow on me, but at first listen, Mariah May's new theme, a little bit of a nothing burger.
A little quiet, I thought. There's kind of
Yeah.
like a fuzziness to it that, I mean, sounded a little odd. First, I was like, "Is that my speaker?" But that's just how it sounded. Like, yeah, there's not much to it. I mean, it's fine. Not a great theme. This is a big problem in pro wrestling in general. Is just like the original themes right now aren't great. When they use real music, it's very good. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So let's talk about Camille and her debut, because she came out after the match between Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida, which was Baker's first match since like last September or something. Long time. She's been out like 10 months. She was a little rusty, you could tell. Also, Shida, I thought, was a little bit off in this match. The timing was a little bit sloppy. Ended up being fine. Baker wins, as you would expect. But then there was the run-in. So, Mercedes comes out, which I got to say, Mercedes, ever since the heel turn, has been really good. Awkward when they were trying to make her a babyface. As we talked about on the show, she's just not good as a babyface. When she's a heel, it's really good. She's been really good the last couple of weeks. And she comes out, and then out comes Camille, and she takes out Baker, and she puts her in that torture rack bomb, which was awesome. I mean, I think we've said this on the show before. Why does nobody use the torture rack? That was a great finish. And then you add on the slam at the end of it, and like the height that Camille gets when she's jumping up and down. I think pairing her up with Mercedes is the perfect thing to do right now. I think that's a great pairing, and eventually they split apart. I think she's going to have a similar rise as Jamie Hayter did. I think Camille's going to get way over with the fans the more they see her, because I mean, let's be honest, like not a lot of people watch NWA, so maybe people are not that familiar with her, but yeah, she's quite the talent. And I thought this debut was awesome. Jesse?
Yeah, she was Nick Aldis's valet for a bit, then went undefeated in NWA for a while. I actually had no idea she appeared until very early this afternoon, because I watched the first half of Dynamite late last night, then went to sleep. There was no mention of it on Twitter whatsoever, so that completely snuck up on me. I did see a few days ago somebody mention, they're like, Camille signed in February, where is she? And here she just randomly appears. Yeah, this is a really good move, I think, for the time being. I don't want to see a Camille Britt Baker match leading into All In. I don't want to see Camille take a loss right away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get they're kind of using her as a big character, but she's going to probably be much larger than that in the long run. And maybe this is foreshadowing in about a month or two, Jamie Hayter's return, get some tag bouts out of it, and a potential feud between, I don't know, any one of those four parts.
Yeah. Justin?
Yeah, I like the debut of Camille. There's just something about this Mercedes and Britt Baker build that isn't doing it for me, that I feel like I should be a lot more excited for that than I am. They still have almost a month to get me there, but pretty lukewarm on that so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as good as the other women's title for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I think Mercedes, I think it's become more intriguing since, the full on turn, and we'll see where we're at by the time we get to All In. But yeah, Baker's got some rust to knock off. That is for sure. So let's talk about the opening segment. By the way, Suzuki and Jericho, I mean, that was what everyone expected. The match was fine, maybe better than I expected. I don't really have anything to say about this. I'm just gonna skip over, but they had a decent match. But Here's the thing. They opened the show. I mean, nice timing, because as the show opened, there was a presidential address going on, and so they have MJF come out, and they end up having like this big American flag displayed, and he announces, I'm going to put the screenshot up here on the screen, that he has changed the international title to the American Championship. And I had this tweet up about, very nice of AEW to create the Top Rope Nation Championship. Can't thank them enough. But here's the thing. This is so odd, because obviously MJF's a heel. He reveals the American Championship in Nashville, Tennessee, which is clearly going to get a babyface reaction, which it did. So then it made it a little harder for him to get heel heat. So then he had to attack Nashville, Trashville. You guys live in trailers, all the usual hits that he plays. And then it's like, is this supposed to get him more heat over in the UK? Because as our friend Carl told me earlier today, who lives over there, Brits don't hate Americans. So like, we
Thanks,
don't care
Carl.
about, he's like, we don't care about if it's the American championship or anything like that. I just thought that this was like a weird move for a heel to make. Like, this is something that a baby face might do. And so this was a little awkward. In the end, though, Ospreay comes out and they get into the brawl. Ospreay's shouting at him on the mic. They separate, I guess. That was very well done. In the end, this was all very good. I just thought, like, it was odd. Why make it the American Championship? I just thought that was kind of strange and unnecessary. Jesse, what did you think of this?
Want Sergeant Slaughter to bring back the AWA America's Championship for a day?
There you go.
Gosh, yeah, that was only a thing for a few months. I remember that being a Wrestle Rock 86. MJF and Ospreay, I mean, it's going to be an excellent rematch down the road. That it's going to be hard for them to try to top what they did. They had an hour to do it on national television, and then here they're going to get probably a half hour, maybe a little bit less. You got to wonder if they're going to put a 60-minute time limit on this thing to question whether or not this thing could go 60, even though we know that it won't. Yeah, I didn't really understand the whole introduction of it. Because I guess to Carl's point, British people like Americans.
Do you think Brits are gonna like boo the red, white, and blue or something? I don't know. Justin,
Was there that much hate with Anthony Ogogo when he was going after Cody Rhodes?
Yeah, I mean that was kind of flat. Yeah, Justin.
It all worked for me, especially the belt, just because of how gaudy looking it is with that, the American flag leather. I totally agree with you that there's no way that's going to work with that Nashville crowd. They immediately, to your point, started chanting USA, USA. But
Yeah.
to me, it was like, this is the international title with flags for all over the world. So the heel is like, no, who cares about the rest of the world? This is just going to be about the country I live in because, I'm better than you and you know it. So I'm going to just make it about America. Well, obviously,
that'd be fine if he was like a Canadian or something or a British guy, but like here in America,
but his opponent who he beat for the title is, not American. So it's
he's supposed to be the baby face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, it's so strange. I don't get it.
It worked for me. The red, white, and blue streamers, the giant flag that dropped down with his face as all the stars.
That was nice.
Yeah, I liked all of it.
Yeah, I like the detail on the flag with his face. That was pretty funny. When we look back at this, I don't think they should have done the first match. I know they were trying to spring a rating for their 250th episode or whatever, but I think this would all have been more effective if the first match was at All In, like we expected. I think that first match is unnecessary. I mean, it just reminds me of when they did Moxley Punk a few weeks before they had the match at All Out, and that was just fell flat. This one didn't fall flat. They had a hell of a match, but I would rather the match have been at All In because I don't think they're going to surpass that one because they're not going to have the time, first of all, and it's going to be hard to live up to it. Jesse, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask Justin because he was not with us last week. I know you gave us the Cliff Notes version of MJF Ospreay. You finally watched it. Just your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was good. I got worried halfway through. I think I actually posted about this. It was all about the shoulder work and the knee work, and Ospreay was really selling all that stuff. And then it just completely disappeared. And I got really concerned. Like, well, once again, that's just kind of like blood and guts. Well, okay. So I spent a half an hour watching this fucking match and none of that matters. And we're just moving on. Luckily they came back around to the shoulder a little bit. Very entertaining. I thumbs up. I enjoyed it. Just going to have some quabbles. And I think honestly, less time could actually be better for these guys, that maybe they won't indulge in some of the stuff that I can find a little irritating when they have free reign over their matches. And, as far as them already having one match before All In, I think that's kind of throwing a bone a little bit to anybody who's attending and wanted to see Ospreay win a title instead of maybe retain a title, being that he's not going to be challenging for the world championship. I guess they think this might be a good second place.
You pretty confident he's going to win it, you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, we shall see. So that was Dynamite. Now, anything else on that before we transition to a little WWE before we wrap?
Do you want me to unleash the spoiler quick?
Okay, so if you don't want to hear the spoiler, fast forward on the podcasting app a couple of minutes. This is for Rampage, though. So, I mean, within hours, it's going to be out there. Go ahead, Jesse.
3, 2, 1. Darby Allin wins the Royal Rampage and gets this title shot at Grand Slam.
Weird. Very weird.
After a TNT title match at All In. Super odd. There's going to be an all-out title match. Maybe I don't even think there will be. I kind of go on a limb. I don't think there's going to be. There wasn't last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Didn't hurt the show.
No. Amazingly.
Mm-hmm.
Still can't really pull that off.
Boy, have you guys seen the ticket sales for Grand Slam, by the way?
No.
Mm-mm.
I mean, remember that huge crowd they had for that first one there? I mean, there are only a few thousand tickets out for this last I checked. Let me see if I can look it up right now real quick. I saw it come across on WrestleTix earlier today, and I was kind of stunned. I mean, we know where their ticket sales are right now, but I mean, this is New York market. I mean, they were just in New York, so, they run a lot of the same areas, but yeah, here it is. First count, AEW Grand Slam. They got 63 days until the show. Place is only set up for 4,800 fans. And they've sold 3,300 tickets.
Yeesh. Didn't Frank says it's a bit of a trek to get there, right? Just a bit of a pain. Or even the stadium itself maybe isn't the greatest. So, I mean, the novelty is worn off. People who have been there before don't really want to go through that again. So it's understandable, but also if, AEW is really rolling right now, that wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, they had 20,000 there in 2021 for the first one, but the company was super hot. Brian had just come in, Punk had come in, Cole had come in. Yeah.
I think getting in and out of there was the humongous issue with Frank and all of the other New Yorkers. I think I recall somebody saying they had a ticket and missed half of the Omega Danielson match because of the parking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeesh.
Yeah, so that's kind of a trouble. And then the person who just won the Royal Rampage, I don't think is going to be moving 1,500 more tickets or 2,000 for his world title match against probably Swerve.
I guess that I do find interesting because obviously for anybody who reads up on this kind of stuff, and they've alluded to it on television, is that Darby and Swerve are friends in real life. They're both from kind of the same general area. So do we think it could be that, or maybe a little bit fresher and to me more intriguing matchup would be Darby versus Danielson?
Still the same Washington connection too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I agree with that. All right. WWE. Monday Night Raw. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. By the way, Drew McIntyre, if you didn't see it, today on Twitter, posted a picture of him and Jack Perry. It was only up for a couple hours, then he deleted it. What was the caption on that? I can't even remember now. Something about this picture's real or something like that.
Cry Me a River.
Oh, Cry Me a River. That's right. Cry Me a River, it's real. Something.
Yeah, this picture's real. Cry Me a River. Something.
Yeah, that's right. WWE PR scrambling as they see this come across. So yeah, I mean, the build to this, we have speculated. Seth Rollins, special referee. Is this CM Punk once again indulging in his Bret Hart fandom? Is this SummerSlam 97 all over again?
It's sure looking like it. I know. I'm just waiting for Drew McIntyre over the next 2 to 4 weeks to say fragile body, fragile ego, weak spirit, weak mind. That's a possibility too.
Because I think Drew McIntyre is going to win the match. And, he's constantly had Punk one up him, ever since WrestleMania, month after month after month. If Punk wins, I feel like it's going to be over soon, maybe. I think Drew's going to get one over on him this time. And probably somehow Rollins is going to screw Punk. They don't like each other either. There's the heat there. And it's just going to be like how at SummerSlam 97, the heel got the win because of the special referee.
When is Bad Blood?
October.
Yeah.
October. Oh, that's quite a ways away, I suppose. My thinking was like, obviously, Shawn screwed the Undertaker at SummerSlam, allowing Brett to win, which led to the Shawn and Undertaker Hell in a Cell match. So I was trying to figure out what the dynamic would be with these three. Do we think this is leading to like a triple threat Hell in the Cell match in October? I mean, we're still quite a ways away, but
I mean, that'd be a way to put less pressure on Punk and keep him healthy. Wouldn't be the worst idea. I could see it.
And what would that mean for you want to move forward unless they do conclude it at Bad Blood? What does that mean for Survivor Series when we're thinking that, especially if they they're going to keep the War Games gimmick, I'm sure it's going to be a civil bloodline, bloodline civil war in there, as opposed to something with Drew and Punk and Rollins, something along those lines. Maybe two of them teaming up with two others against one of them in three.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ryan said in the chat, Ryan Huffman, I think it's going to be Drew versus Punk for a while. I mean, you would think, but I feel like they're going to go on a tangent. Otherwise, why have Rollins even involved in this? Makes no sense.
He's going to factor in. We know it. And knowing Punk's history, like you already said, there's going to be some sort of Bret Hart SummerSlam homage in there.
Mm-hmm.
And they completely stumbled into Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. This was supposed to be Seth Rollins, CM Punk from the beginning, because this would have been their WrestleMania match would have taken place at 40 this year. And Drew wasn't. He was an afterthought.
Maybe, I don't know. You keep going with Drew and Punk somehow. I think you have to factor in Rollins somehow. But I guess there's still a way that if they drag out Punk and Drew for long enough, they can still plan on Punk and Rollins at WrestleMania. Granted, Punk will be hurt by then anyways, so it probably doesn't matter.
I mean, if you follow the trajectory of 1997 WWF, and if that's what they're kind of going for here, if coming out of this, you do, Punk and Rollins, and maybe the winner of that feud, or maybe a singular match, gets a title shot at the new champion, Gunther, who's a heel. So that one of those guys, both baby faces, just like 97, can go on. And then you come back with McIntyre. Maybe that ends up being Rollins. And then you come back with, McIntyre and Punk. I don't know. This is all fantasy booking at this point, but a lot of similarities.
Gunther throws one of them in a sharpshooter, and Triple H calls for the bell.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Here we go.
Then there is this 97 homage.
Yes. I mean, overall, I'm not a huge fan of having Rollins in this because it's like second biggest show of the year. Don't you want this guy in the ring wrestling? He's fresh back and everything. I mean, I don't know. Just I'd rather have him in an actual wrestling match. I mean, quite honestly, the SummerSlam card is not super great on paper right now. Just because you don't get Rollins in the ring. Yeah, we all expect kind of you're going to get the Gunther title win. I'm still not a believer in Solo Sikoa main eventing against Cody Rhodes. It's just a backdrop for Roman Reigns' return. Everybody knows it. Cody Rhodes is playing second fiddle to Roman Reigns in the second biggest show of the year. I mean, ever since he won the title, he's not. Don't get me wrong, he's super over with the crowd, but he hasn't really been the focus on these shows, like at all. They have nobody for him to feud with, and here he's not the focus yet again. So I'm not
finishing this. Yeah, finishing the story was the pinnacle of his entire story, and ever since then, it's been a wet fart because there hasn't been anybody to challenge him.
Yeah, I'm
unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Paul Levesque, he can do no wrong as a booker, though. That's what I'm told. He's got to have him lined up for Cody to feud with, right?
Sitting on Jacob Fatu, but that's way down the road, and he's going to be involved in this bloodline civil war, so you can kind of scrap that idea.
Last week on SmackDown was very funny because we talked about it last week, how, like Jacob Fatu really overshadows Solo. He's a better wrestler. He has more charisma, everything. And when they did that backstage segment in the middle of SmackDown last week, it's this goofy thing where like Solo's front and center, the other guys are on the side, and then Jacob's like standing behind Solo, and he was holding the beads up like right in front of his face. So it's like they were hiding him so he couldn't take away from Solo, which is like probably something they should do.
Yeah.
I think they probably consciously did that because the guy's just so charismatic and jumps off the screen that who gives a shit about Solo. Jacob Fatu's out there. And then oddly enough, I guess we're getting into a tangent about SmackDown, but I'll just do this real quick. The end of SmackDown, like yet again, Bloodline runs wild. And, Jacob Fatu comes out and he's just like destroying everybody. And, Cody was out there. He felt guilty that, Randy got destroyed the week before and everything. And so like, there's the beat down again. Cody's out there, KO. And it's like Jacob Fatu is doing everything. And Solo's just standing there. And it's like that worked when it was Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns everybody knew was a badass because he'd been multiple time world champion, headline WrestleMania multiple times, top star in the company. So he can just stand there and do nothing because everyone knows he's the deal. But when Solo Sikoa does it, just makes him look weak because this guy has won 3 singles matches in the last 12 months. Literally, I looked it up. He's won 3 singles matches in the last 12 months. What the hell? And he just stands there while Jacob Fatu, the guy who's clearly better than him, is just doing everything. And he just stands there like he's big and tough. It's like, no, that dynamic doesn't work when you've done nothing. It works for Roman Reigns because he had done a lot. He doesn't need to do anything. He's the Godfather. You're Solo Sikoa. You've done nothing. It just like the dynamic doesn't work. It's not building him up. He's not a viable challenger. It's just a time waster to get to Roman Reigns. That's all it is.
Triple H pretending to be Vince, making us think that we're not going to remember this. That Solo's won 3 singles matches in the last year.
I have them all written down here still from my notes from another show I did the other day. You want to hear them? He beat Kevin Owens on the June 15th SmackDown. Then you have to go all the way back to November, where he beat John Cena November 4th at Crown Jewel. And then you have to go to September 1st, where he beat AJ Styles on SmackDown. That's it. Those are his 3 singles wins in the last year. 3 singles wins. Challenging for the biggest championship in the company, the second biggest show of the year, because he got the pinfall and a 6-man tag. There you have it.
And AJ was the first contender for Cody's title. What does that tell you? What they think of the hierarchy and the contendership of the World Wrestling Entertainment Universal Championship?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, I am way higher right now in the booking of the world title on Raw. And, we complained about the pay-per-view and how, he basically, Damian Priest looked like a dope because of the kick-out fiasco and everything. But look, they have successfully turned the crowd in favor of him. Talked about it for weeks. The SummerSlam was going to be awkward. 2 heels, him and Gunther. But the crowd is super, super behind Damian Priest right now. One of our friends of the show, Brian Koval, was at Raw in Green Bay. And he said that Priest got one of the biggest reactions on the show. So they have done a really good job in making him this like kind of cool baby face. On the, we think that Judgment Day might be splitting apart and he's going to go the babyface route, maybe just like Rhea. And, that dynamic of him and Gunther is really working right now. I've enjoyed all of that. Jesse, you?
I think it just goes to show how good of a heel Gunther is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I get that they're trying to do not in a rags to riches way, but I've come from nothing and I've become the champion, Damian Priest. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, if you consider the B World Championship riches. But yeah, I mean, being in the largest company, I suppose, in the world and being a champion makes all the sense in the world. So yeah, no, I think they've done a pretty solid job in that aspect. And I know that Raw is here in Minnesota next week, about 3 miles from where I am now, and I'll sit on a free ticket.
Are you going to go? Do you got a free ticket?
No, but I have a weird feeling I'll get asked.
Yeah. I had kind of been debating taking my kids to that one.
Oh.
But I don't know. We'll see. Probably won't, but who knows? Justin, did you have
I know Gunther is Austrian, but do you think there's any chance that they save his title win for Bash in Berlin and have actually Damian Priest win at SummerSlam?
I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, the company has a history of trying to throw you off when it's super obvious. I would not be shocked at all.
I think there would have to be some shenanigans involved, unless like they really, really believe in Damian Priest and the crowd reaction he's starting to get. If to keep him looking strong, have him get a win over Gunther, and then Gunther gets one back at Bash Berlin. That way, you can still do one more down the road.
Could you have like Judgment Day cost Gunther the match and like Priest be pissed about it?
That's not a bad idea.
Because he already did the thing with Rollins where he was like, that whole stipulation's off. I'll fight you again anytime. And they were doing that to make him look like a strong babyface. So like, even if he's beating the heel, but he doesn't like that he inadvertently cheated to win. He's like, I want to face you again. That wasn't right. I could totally see that. Yeah.
Especially with the portrayal of, like you said, Gunther's character. I mean, we know he's Austrian, but the crowd might not necessarily know. If they want him to get that true moment, yeah, have him do it in Europe and in that land as opposed to America.
Yeah. Last thing. What do we think about Rhea Ripley since she's returned? They built up the story more with Liv Morgan on Monday night. And she's basically dragging Dominic around. I mean, everybody sees this coming, that eventually Dominic's going to turn on her and go off with Liv. I think we all see it coming. Whether that happens explicitly at SummerSlam or if it's just like a slight, oops, sorry, didn't mean to cost you the match, Rhea thing, or he fully turns, we don't know yet. But I think they'll maybe drag it out a little bit longer. But it's coming. Everybody sees that coming. Should Rhea Ripley care this much about if Dominic's into Liv? Because hasn't the story always been that like she controls Dominic? Like he's kind of like she wouldn't really care if he left. It's like, I used you, whatever, dude. But now it's kind of like the dynamic is she would be so hurt if Dominic left. Like Liv made the line about guys like him don't like girls like you. They like girls like me. And then she's showing off her body and stuff. Like, and then Rhea's all pissed. Should she really care, Jesse?
The way her character was portrayed, no.
Yeah.
Like you said, she's the alpha of this relationship with Dom Mysterio, and Dom's the one that's been trying to prove his worth to her and that he wasn't being a dick and he wasn't cheating on her. But at the same time, I guess what I caught was he never called her during those few months when she was on the shelf. So that's one thing. Yeah. So how much did he really care about Rhea Ripley? Especially when, if I recall hearing this correctly as well, Rhea says don't interfere don't go out of your way to interfere and cause Liv to be a champion. And he went to Saudi Arabia and accidentally gave her the championship. Or was it that in Saudi Arabia against Becky? Yes, it was. Yeah, they opened the show with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I like Rhea being the alpha and ordering him around, and I don't really like her kind of not cowering, but being so concerned about like what Dominic thinks. I just felt like the whole history of their relationship is like she wouldn't give a shit, whatever.
You're right.
It never felt like a physical relationship. Like we never thought, oh, they're having sex. Really? Oh, I never got that feeling.
I thought the whole thing at the beginning was like Rhea made him a man kind of thing. And that's what they were hinting at. But
oh no.
At least originally.
That's true.
Yeah, but like, yeah, she's used him. He's the property of her, and like, all right, you want to leave, whatever, be gone. That's kind of, how you would expect it to go based on how the relationship's been. But I guess since she's been gone, she cares more now. I don't know. It's fine. Rhea is still super over. And yeah, I don't expect the title change at SummerSlam. I think they drag it out until eventually Dom leaves, as we've said in the program before, New Judgment Day, while like Rhea, or maybe it'll be a whole different name, who knows? And then Rhea and Priest kind of split off. Maybe that's where this is headed. Anything
Ryan in the
else?
chat. Nah, he became a man that one night in prison.
Oh, kind of like the Mountie back at SummerSlam 91. Yeah. All right. So, I mean, that's kind of what's going on in the world. Tomorrow night, we got SmackDown, and we'll see if they continue to build up Solo Sikoa's Prestige. Although next week, if we are talking modern wrestling, it will be on the Patreon feed, either with a Top Rope Nation Extra or a TRN Unplugged, because we got SummerSlam next weekend, and we will be reviewing that show probably the next day. Or maybe, well, we got to talk about that off air, depending on schedules. But we, as I said at the top, we're going to be doing Bash at the Beach 2000 midweek. That's a Patreon exclusive. So if you want to hear that and over 150 bonus shows, get on our Patreon page, support what we're doing. $5 a month gets you access to everything. It'll be a private video stream for that as we record the show, and then the podcast will go out to patrons afterwards. And you can get your SummerSlam preview also on the Patreon feed. So we won't be back here on the YouTube channel, at least publicly, until the SummerSlam post show. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we close it up?
Welcome back, Justin Joint.
Thanks. Yeah. Happy to be here. And farewell to Elton John as the Collision theme.
Yeah,
Talk
that's
about
true.
A big time downgrade.
Yep. I suppose it couldn't last forever with a real song like that. Pretty expensive, but yeah. I really, really like that as the theme song too.
Could have paid the group that did Obsession.
Yeah. Animotion. I think that's the name of the band.
That is. Mid 80s.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Yeah, I could just picture it with that. Yeah, just those opening highlights. Yes, that just gave me chills.
Dun, 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 dun. I know what's playing us out this week. We'll hear that here in just a second. Guys, follow us on social media. Jesse.
Happy anniversary, Top Rope Nation.
Coming up.
That's in a couple days.
3 days. 8-year anniversary. July 28th, 2016 was our first episode. Go way back in the archives to hear that one. Yeah.
July 27th, 2023. That was my 1-year anniversary.
There you
so
go.
2 anniversaries within a day of each other.
Yeah.
In 7 years.
Nice. Very nice. So yeah, Saturday and Sunday. Love it. Love it. So yeah, you can send us our congrats to topropenation@gmail.com on those anniversaries. I'll forward it on to Jesse. Justin's anniversary with the show's in January, I do believe. Right?
That sounds about right.
January 2017 when he came out as the third man. So yeah, that'll be coming up as well. Hard to believe. We'll be 8 years in on our next broadcast. That's wild, man. All right, guys. Well, we hope you have a great weekend. You can find us on social media at Top Rope Nation. Join the Facebook group. Search Top Rope Nation Pro Wrestling Discussion. We'll be talking to you all again real soon. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Terry Bollea, you still suck.